Hi, this is John Ashburton, creator of the successful series of ebooks on how to master your Australian police entrance exams. Today I'd like to welcome you to this 3-part video series on the next step of your journey, and that is setting yourself up for success at the Police Academy. If you're watching this, then you've likely been following along with our police selection preparation, and many of you have been sending through various questions on this exact topic. Now, for those of you asking about specific assistance in preparing for your entrance exams, I do want to clarify that this video series is going to focus on preparing you for the actual Police Academy. So if you're still looking for assistance with the police entrance exams, click the link below for those training resources, or go to www.policeprep.com.au and click the training products link at the top of the page. Now, assuming you've done the hard work in preparing for the exams and you know all about verbal reasoning, abstract reasoning, writing tests, and how to pass a psychological test, you're likely aware that none of these skills are going to be particularly relevant at the Academy. You're about to discover that it takes a lot more than simple test-taking skills to successfully graduate from the Academy and go on to earn your police badge. You'll also be moving from the competitive environment of police selection to the more team-focused environment of police training. This requires a significant mind shift, and it's important that you understand the difference. One of the questions I received recently was, what is the number one attribute police recruiting are looking for to get ahead of other applicants? And this question certainly demonstrates the real sense of competition many of you are feeling during selection, and rightly so, as there are only going to be so many successful applicants. The answer, in my opinion, is that there is no specific trait, as the selection is a holistic approach considering a wide range of tests. But the point is that if you're moving on to this video series on Academy preparation, then you need to start that shift in mindset that you'll be joining a team of other recruits soon, and you're going to need each other to successfully graduate through each aspect of the course. And we'll talk more on that in future videos. So what does it take, and how do you prepare? Well, this 3-part series is going to take you through some key steps in optimizing your preparation and really understanding what is ahead of you. It's a short introduction to the recently revised course, Police Academy Blueprint 2.0, which I'll talk about in the next video. In this mini-series, though, we're going to talk about a number of topics, including Academy myths, making first impressions, boosting your productivity, and ultimately building yourself to a position where you show up to the Academy with a real sense of purpose and confidence for the months ahead. Oftentimes when I talk to people preparing for the Academy, they ask, well, isn't everything you need taught at the Academy? And my response to that is, yes, all the mandatory topics are of course covered at the Academy, but it is your ability to assimilate and tackle all that information at an incredibly intense pace that matters. Plus, you need to achieve all this in the middle of a very unique and challenging social environment that is the Police Academy. I'm also talking from a position of experience here. Personally, I had a very tough time adjusting to life at the Academy. I had barely arrived in the state with my family before the first day, and I found the police recruit culture a significant shift, to say the least, from my previous employment. In fact, it'd be hard to imagine a worse first day at the Academy than what I experienced. I made a wrong turn on the freeway entrance on the way in and thus barely turned up on time. I then had to leave a couple of hours in the middle of the day to attend a funeral, which meant I missed some critical introductions, including a whole scenario session run by detectives to help us prepare for all the tasks ahead. I then had a police siren alarm go off on my phone during a mock court hearing scenario, which is about the most silent point of the day. So that was humiliating. And finally, I got back to my car to discover that I'd inadvertently parked between 2 smaller cars. There actually was no third car park, and accordingly, there was an outrageously expensive parking ticket waiting on my windscreen. Despite this shocking start, I applied some key principles over the following months and went on not only to graduate but to receive multiple awards, including overall dux of the course. However, my most proud achievement at the Academy was being awarded the Minister's Award, which recognised me as making the most contribution to my fellow squad members throughout the course. What is so special about that award is that it was determined not by grades and rankings, but rather on the opinion of the other recruits on the course. So over the course of this 3-part training video series, I'm going to share with you some key insights on what I did to overcome my initial challenges and ultimately the habits I formed that can enable you too to achieve at your best throughout the Academy. So if you agree that learning some of these habits could be of use to you, then this video series is definitely for you. The other thing I want to mention real quick is that success at the Academy is not just about graduation. It is about building the right foundations for a successful police career. There are quite a few police officers who stumbled their way through Police Academy and barely made it over the line. And these are often the type of people who then flounder under the pressure of real-life police pressure. They become a liability to their team and more often than not don't even last much longer than their probationary period of service. Looking at my own police recruit squad, over 15% of my squad had already resigned by the time we were all due to come off probation. Clearly, there is much more at stake for you in the months ahead at Police Academy. If you don't get this right, you may end up wasting years of your life in a career you simply didn't know how to prepare for. On the flip side, if you set yourself up for success, then the payoff will go on for years to come for both you and the people you care about. Now, in today's quick introduction, I'm going to let you in on some myths about Police Academy training and where reality can differ somewhat. After that, I'll quickly touch on the importance of first impressions, other than the obvious. And then lastly, I'm going to give you a critical piece of advice on why your performance at the Academy will determine more than whether or not you graduate. So make sure you watch this entire video. Police Academy myth number 1 is, it'll be okay if I pick up some study habits as I go. This is a big one that catches quite a few people out. This myth comes from the fact that a lot of people's experience in training courses is that they become more demanding as you progress. Police Academy isn't like that. Police training is often broken down into phases or different modules. So you might be focused on tactical communication and use of force for a couple of months, and then focused on emergency driving for a few weeks. Most likely you will also spend a few months focused on legal studies. In fact, legal studies is often first up in your training as it sets the foundations for many other aspects of police training. The issue is that each of these modules are often run in isolation and are so jam-packed with information that there is simply no time for a gentle increase in pace. So you will need to literally hit the ground running each and every time you start a new topic. So the reality is you need to anticipate your study requirements and not waste time trying to figure things out as you go. For example, I already knew that my best study time was in the morning, so when my course started with legal studies, I knew that my best option was to set aside time before class every day to complete my additional study or assignments. So I wasn't wasting time with inefficient study in the afternoon. The great news is that if you've spent time preparing for your police entrance exams, then you probably have a good idea of what works best for you. If not, start thinking about that today. The second Police Academy myth is, I need to learn some self-defense techniques before the Police Academy. This is a very controversial topic. I wanted to bring it up to make sure you are aware of a few key points when making your own decisions about self-defense training. Firstly, you will be taught empty hand techniques at the Academy. Your background can be a bit of a double-edged sword, so to speak. If you have skills in other martial arts, you will likely be comfortable with the concept of what is effectively hand-to-hand fighting. However, you may also be at a disadvantage in some areas as your instinctive response to certain situations may be different, or worse, even contradict the police-mandated techniques. You can, in fact, land yourself in all sorts of trouble implementing unauthorized techniques both at the Academy and as a police officer. For example, a headlock, whilst an effective control in some circumstances, is not authorized by some police services unless there is a threat to you or someone else's life. There are a lot of considerations as to exactly what that means, but you should be aware that if you are a solid 6-foot person attempting to take control of a much smaller and unarmed person, you would struggle to justify use of a headlock in simply detaining them. So if you don't already have a background in self-defense, you might consider using the Police Academy training as a good base to then inquire about further training that complements rather than contradicts your skills appropriate to police work. The last myth I'd like to discuss is on the physical side, and that is the topic of running. It's the myth of police officers don't actually run that much. The police entrance tests are just to judge fitness levels. Well, you're about to discover that regardless of what police officers do, police recruits spend a lot of time running. Functional fitness is all the rage these days, and the police academy will be no exception. Much of the physical training is cardio intensive, so it won't matter how big you are, you need to run. The main reason I bring this up, though, is I want you to understand the benefits of a high level of fitness flow over into every other aspect of the academy. If you're fit and healthy and can complete the required physical training without overexertion, then you'll be in a much better state of mind to assimilate all the other training you complete that day. If you're physically drained from the PT sessions, though, then you're not going to take in much information over the following few days. Trust me, it's hard enough to stay awake during the legal studies on a good day. Now, I've had some questions lately on how to go about making a good first impression on your first day at the academy. This skill of first impressions will also be valuable in your police career, as you'll be meeting new people every police shift. And it doesn't matter if the person is a fellow officer, witness, or suspect. If you know how to present yourself appropriately, you will not only be more successful in your job, but you'll likely have a far more enjoyable career. The key thing to get here is that you'll often be making first impressions over and over again during your time at the academy and as a police officer. And they really can make or break you regardless of who you're meeting. Also, the first impression you want to make is going to differ between people. How you present to an elderly person giving a witness statement will be different to dealing with an intoxicated, potentially violent suspect. But I want to be respectful of your time here and keep this short, and this is also a topic we devote more time in this revised Police Academy Blueprint 2.0, which I'll be discussing in a few days' time. But in terms of a really quick summary on first impressions, it pays to think about what you expect of others in a first impression. Let's take the first day of Police Academy in the context of meeting other police recruits. I want you to do a super quick exercise here. Imagine, if you will, your worst nightmare recruit is sitting next to you in the introduction lecture. What are they wearing? Did they arrive on time? What do they smell like? What did they say to you when they sat down? Did they say anything? What is their general body language? One of enthusiasm or one of boredom and fatigue? Did they make eye contact with you? So by now, you're probably imagining a fairly unpleasant experience with this person. So now what I'd like you to do is reverse everything about that person. Make it all positive and what you would expect and like to see. And you are now getting a better and better picture of what you would need to make a great first impression with other recruits and staff. Now, we've barely scratched the surface there on first impressions, and we'll go into more detail on this in some coming training. But before we wrap up today, I want to go back to why your performance at the Police Academy is so important. I mentioned earlier there are far more reaching consequences of a good, bad, or indifferent performance. One of these is your posting preference. Now, this is not always the case, but in some states, your overall performance will be a factor in determining where you are posted and whether you get a preference of posting. This is not in all states all the time, but it can certainly be a factor. Some of you have even asked about what happens if I get posted somewhere which is not compatible with my family circumstances. For example, you might have significant parenting responsibilities. Well, again, this is further motivation to you to perform well in optimizing your chance of a posting preference. However, if you really are limited in your work locations, you need to make this clear in your police application. Again, it would be a waste of everyone's time if you resign shortly after graduation because you are not willing or able to work at your first posting locale. So if you want to give yourself the best chance of starting out where you want, then be sure to keep an eye on your inbox for details on the next training video. One thing I'd like you to do until then is, if you haven't already, check out the link below on finding your reasons for becoming a police officer. Completing this very short activity there will really help you on your way to finding the motivation to success at the academy. Finally, I also invite you to send me your top 1 or 2 questions right now on what you would like me to include on our next video topic, which is going to be all about productivity and task management whilst at the academy. Just let me know what your top 2 questions on that topic might be, and I'll do my best to answer your questions in the next video. You can send your questions through to me on our Facebook page, or simply send me an email to info@policeprep.com.au. Thank you for your time today, and if you found this training video useful, please let me know on our Facebook page, and of course, click that review button while you're there. Until next time, keep up your preparations, visualize your success, and make it happen.